What were they thinking? Did they lose their fucking minds? I mean, I could understand if they were trying to create something more interactive, if you can call it that. But what could have went wrong? This may sound like a bunch of bullshit, and you may think I need therapy, but believe me, I've been to multiple therapists. So just hear me out, and what you're about to read is 100% real. I saw it happen. I felt it happen. And I knew it happened. It all started when I was signing up to be a character at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. I was really excited, since I was really good with kids back home, and people in general too. I hoped to be Mickey most of all though, and I was walking to the sign-up station. I see a guy in a Goofy costume. I waved to him, and he waved back. But something was off about him. He seemed like he was stuck in that pose, like his feet were glued to the floor. He stared at me the entire time I was in his line of sight, and it really creeped me out. I then saw someone in a Minnie costume. Same thing, a seemingly automated pose, waving to people. I walked by her, and I thought I heard her whisper something in my ear. Help. I began to walk a little faster and made it to the sign-up station. I walked up, and to my luck, there was one last spot for Mickey. I grinned as I imagined all the smiling kids I would be meeting, signing autographs, taking pictures, giving hugs, all a great sight. I signed my name. Someone came up after and walked me through a process and put an informational video on. I was the only one that signed up today, oddly enough. Must be my lucky day, I thought to myself. After the video ended, the people told me my first day on the job would be tomorrow. I headed back to the hotel, and I couldn't get the feeling that signing up was a mistake. I then had a good sleep and drove to the park to start my first day. The costumes were there, and they were all staring at me walking to the costume building to get my own. I felt like they were trying to tell me to not go in there. I began to run and made it in. I then turned and saw a Mickey helmet and yelled in fear. "What's wrong?" the guy said as he lowered the helmet. "Nothing," I said back. Just startled me, is all." He shrugged and handed it to me. I was having second thoughts about signing up. Maybe I shouldn't have done this. The guy insisted I put the costume on, and something in his voice made me put it on. Like my hands were on autopilot and I wasn't telling them to do it. I then put the helmet on, and my fear began to go away. Like I was remembering the smiles I would give. And as soon as I walked out, I heard a robotic voice inside the helmet say, "Shell mode deactivated. Welcome to your new life host." I began to panic as my legs began to walk on their own. I tried to scream for help, but my voice was muffled by the helmet. I stopped at my spot, and wires began to shoot into my torso. I screamed in pain as wires shot into my arms and legs. Fusion of parasite and body in progress, currently at 47%, the voice said. Parasite? My arms and legs then were broken by the wires. They then held them up, and I began to wave. Fusion complete, the robotic voice said. I was being used as a puppet for this costume. I don't remember how many days I stayed like this. The rest is a blur. I don't remember if I stayed in this one spot at the curb for hours, days, even years. What I do remember is someone kicking me in the stomach. I didn't get a good look on who it was. The helmet was fogged up by my breath. Alert. Hostile threat detected. Activating emergency combat mode, the robotic voice said. I then sprung up and began to fight whoever kicked me. It did no good. Someone taped me, and I collapsed to the ground. I felt hands picking me up and carrying me into what I thought was an ambulance. The helmet was then ripped off my head. Immense pain then flooded me, and I tried to scream, but found my voice was completely gone, probably from screaming for help this entire time. A man in a black suit was standing over me. "You're lucky," the man said to me in a deep, monotone voice. Most people never made it. They were either suffocated or driven insane from standing there. And we found you in a matter of 6 hours. I only stared at him. They drove me to a nearby hospital, and I had to have surgery for this costume to be removed from me. I was never the same again. I was then wheelchair-bound, and I had to have bionic arms to replace my old ones. I made it home, and decided never to tell anyone of this nightmare. What the costumes were is a mystery to me. Some say they were a sort of exoskeleton. I think it's some sort of alien parasite, since I heard parasite by the robotic voice. My theory is that these parasites fuse with your body and break your bones so you can't fight back. Once this is finished, it then begins to blend in with whatever it's disguised as, slowly feeding off of your life force, until you're nothing but a shell.